what would you say is maybe one of the biggest misconceptions about doing hair coloring?
I would say that the biggest misconception would be that we actually put on your head the color that you like point in the book. That's just a color that's on a white swatch. Like your hair is going to do completely different things. So it's not about just going and getting that tube and then putting it on your head. We actually have to mix something that's going to make your hair turn into color, I guess. So not as easy as one tube. Sometimes it is, but often not.
The interesting thing that I'm thinking of as you say that is like when I've been there to get my hair dyed, I noticed that the mixture that you make, it's kind of like this almost like, it almost looks like Elmer's glue, like the whitish glue. Like it doesn't, and so it's like,
yeah, it definitely, it's not like brown that I'm putting in your head.
Yeah. And then you put that in, and then that's what creates the color. So it's just, and so does it always end up being that kind of clear liquid?
Yeah, like certain colors, let's say a copper, mixes more purpley actually in the bowl, but generally it's always going to be a tone of that kind of beigey white color in the bowl. Unless you're doing like a fashion color that's like a pink or a blue, that will just look exactly like it's supposed to look like in the bowl. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's more about like all the colors are numbered, and then you're kind of using those numbers to mix the reds and the greens together. And then, from experience, I guess, hoping it turns out.
Well, as my more astute listeners and viewers will have figured out, this is not my natural hair color, but I think it looks very good on me, so I'm sticking with it.
Not my natural hair color either, but also sticking with it.
Yeah. Hey, you got to do what works for you. Actually, I kind of want to like ask you a little bit more about that. What are some other things that maybe people don't know about hair, like styling and coloring, that you think that should be more well known or more widely known?
I would say that, we can't do magic. Like your hair can only do so much. Like some people's hair can get really light even though they're naturally dark, and some people can't. You still are born with it. And it's so unique to each different person, which is kind of the nice thing about it. No color is going to look the same on anybody. So you can always kind of have it individual. I think sometimes people are confused when they want the picture, but it's like they have hair like mine and are showing me a curly hair picture. Well, the color's not going to be the same because your hair is completely different. So I think that sometimes is tough. Even though you tell them that, their expectations still exist. They're still hoping that magically, like, they're just going to grow new hair.
So are you saying that like that color actually does apply to hair differently depending on if it's straight or curly?
Yes, but also just like curly hair sometimes, depends on the person, but it can take it differently, just like straight hair would take it differently, maybe around the baby hairs or so. But more importantly, curls, like I was putting in highlights, your curls are going to pick up the highlights completely different than my straight hair would. My hair here, these highlights that I have that look so kind of like hardly noticeable on my hair, with your curls, like if I had curls in my hair, you would see each individual little tendril, just because the curls add that depth and dimension. So yeah, it never is going to look the same with your different hair textures. And I would apply the highlights much differently on curly hair than I would on straight hair.
That is interesting. To me anyways. Yeah, it's like I remember I bought this book I feel like a few years ago now. It was called The Science of Black Hair, because I heard about it and I was like, you know what, I'm the kind of nerd that like I care very much about my hair, and even though I obviously don't have the same hair, like I'm white, so I don't have the same hair as black people, like the same texture and everything. But I bought that book and I was like, I'm going to read this. And then I ended up lending it to a friend of mine who was a black person, and I forgot to get it back. So I didn't get to read it, but maybe I'll get another copy, because like there's got to be stuff in there that it's still going to be useful to know, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think just doing, your curly hair would be as the same level, but you might find that you still can like some of those more moisturizing products. I should be reading this book.
Well, it's interesting because like not only you, but like every time I think in the last few years that I've gone to to get my hair cut, I almost always get like either compliments or just comments about like, oh wow, listen, your hair is like really good, because like I switched my hair care routine, and I take very, very good care of it now, like I didn't used to, and using special like
Amazing.
products and like, yeah, people, even just like kind of people that I know, you know, that aren't in that profession, like just friends or people online, they sometimes like ask me, and I'm like, well, I could tell you how I do it, but it's a lot of work, so you really got to want to do it. But I mean, yeah, it's good results. So
I know that is also, I guess, something people forget, that to have nice hair, you have to take care of it. So,
yeah.
it's not, you're not just gonna get wash and go. You can get close to it, but you need to, usually do a little something else. Even just with like products in it, not even about styling, but you gotta take care of it, keep it healthy.
Well, one little kind of factoid that I feel like I want to share for anyone who's like checking this out because they want to learn a little bit more about hair. One thing I did learn that kind of like shocked me is that, like, I know it's becoming more common for like shampoos and conditioners that you buy from like, the store, to like be kind of, sulfate free or like paraben free, stuff like that. But I did learn that it was kind of like shampoo and conditioner were kind of developed as this like tag team of like the shampoo uses these harsh chemicals, so it actually kind of like damages your hair, and then you have to use the conditioner to kind of like repair it. But then it's this like cycle, every time you wash you have to condition, because it's otherwise your hair is just gonna get ruined. So to get completely away from that stuff and use like the stuff that I use is like hasn't got any of that stuff in it, and it does, like, my hair feels totally different now than it did when I was still using like store-bought shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah, definitely, like Shoppers Drug Mart, no matter what, even if it says sulfate free, like it's still not got great ingredients in it just for the shelf life and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, to your point, the shampoo, I think people often don't realize that shampoo is actually for your scalp. Like, it's not for your
Mm.
hair. So it should be addressing what's wrong with your scalp. If your scalp's dry or has psoriasis or has dandruff, like that's what you should be addressing. And yeah, you don't need to shampoo your hair every time. Often, even with my hair, I'll have a shower and just put conditioner to have it smell nicer. And the more your hair kind of gets used to that, the less greasy it feels. And yeah, you're not stripping it, drying it out every time with a shampoo. Shampoo is definitely a
Yeah.
little overused, and it is a vicious cycle because you start getting greasy because you shampooed too much, and then
Yeah, like I made that switch I think 2 or 3 years ago, where I read about like, you shouldn't wash your hair, like shouldn't like use shampoo more than once a week. And that initially that sounded ridiculous to me, but then I started doing it and it's like it actually works. Like I only put shampoo in my hair about once every like 5 to 7 days, and it's great. It's very healthy.
I will say though, for all these straight haired people out there, we can get away with like not that long. Like definitely curly hair soaks it up. So if you have straight hair and you're like, why can I not go a week? It's because it just can't.
That's good to know. Yeah.
I'm sure there's somebody who's probably gotten over the hump and done it, but yeah, definitely me after 3 days, like it's my hair is just too fine. It just greases down.